Hello, I make walking sticks, and this is where many of them start. A mesquite tree growing in the Sonoran Desert of southeast Arizona. I look at each tree that I get to harvest and decide how I'm going to make walking sticks. On many trees, if you're careful, you can get up to 50 walking sticks out of a tree. I try to take great care when I'm harvesting limbs from the mesquite trees to make walking sticks. I try to visualize what one's going to look like before I cut it down from the tree. I don't always take it out just as it's going to be. I'll leave some extra branches on them and also extra length. Once a limb is down from the tree, before I can start working on them, you have to allow it to dry. The mesquite wood is very dense and hard, and it can take 2 to 3 months for a limb to dry, depending on the time of the year. I air dry them outside, just letting them dry in the sunshine, which is plentiful here in southeast Arizona. This is what a branch might look like when you take it down out of the tree. Some have a really heavy, coarse bark. Some have a finer bark. It depends on the size of the limb and the age. And it's easy to peel the bark off once the branch is fully dry. It's a little more difficult if it's still green, but you get a different kind of a finish depending on when you take the bark off. This particular branch, as you can see, is forked at the bottom. And when I get ready to process this one, I will probably cut off that I'll probably cut off the right branch and just use the left one there at the bottom. I almost always have anywhere from 8 to a dozen sticks in process at any given time. I kind of work on a stick and see how it's turning out, and I study it and make decisions on what's the next step I want to take with it, whether I leave a piece of a branch on it or how I shape the handle or the grip area, the finished length of the stick. This one here, I split the top end of the stick so you could see the heartwood and the outer wood. It always gives a very nice color finish. Same with this one over here. Some I will carve on them. This one has almost a natural face starting there of an animal, and I will work that into something. Some become canes. This one may or may not. I haven't decided yet. Some have 2 feet. Some only 1. Various things happen with sticks as I work on them. Like I said earlier, I kind of design as I go. I change and put different kinds of grip areas. I try to let the shape of the wood dictate the pattern that it ends up with as the finished product. They're all custom cut to length for the person who ends up with the particular stick, because not everybody wants the same length. And a finished stick will end up with a rubber foot on the bottom. You can see on this one where I've started prepping the bottom for the stick, or for the foot. This particular stick has two 1/2 inch wide, 1/4 inch deep spiral grooves cut down the full, almost the full length of it. The one with the knob type handle there at the is a piece of mesquite. The one with the light spiral cut in it is also mesquite. Has an interesting little forked branch at the bottom. This one here in the center of the screen is a stick that's made with a spine out of a saguaro cactus, and then it has a mesquite handle, and then it has leather lacing on part of it. And it shows this spine or bone out of a saguaro cactus, and of course a rubber foot on that one already. This one is mesquite. This one with a little branch sticking off the top to the left is mesquite. I've taken more of the bark off. I tend to try to leave some of the Cambrian layer of the bark I like to leave a little bit of the Cambria layer of the bark on the sticks. It adds excellent color and enhances the beauty of the wood. Another one with a two-footed bottom. The stick here, just to the right of the electrical outlet, is actually a piece of hazelnut tree or filbert tree that came from up in Oregon. One in the center here with a slight curve in the top is another piece of pine. Came from around Sisters, Oregon. And the last one there is a piece of mesquite. All of the sticks get sanded down to a very smooth finish, starting with 80 grit sandpaper, then 150, 220, and then 400. And once they have a very smooth finish to the wood, they all receive at least 3 coats of Varathane varnish as a finish, with 400 grit sanding between layers or coats to to give them a nice glassy and shiny finish. Now, not all of the mesquite becomes a walking stick. Oftentimes, if the shape is right, they can become a cane. The first 4 there were all mesquite. This last one here on the to the right of all the sticks is a piece of alder, and it hasn't had the finish put on it yet. It's still plain wood. And all of them have been left quite long. I don't cut them to the final length until somebody takes possession of it, because with a cane it's important that it be the proper length. You don't want to, if you actually need a cane, you don't want to be using a cane that is too long. It can cause more problems than the good that you can receive from using a cane. So we always size them to the end user. This is a view of some of the sticks that are in the drying process. Just leaning against the fence in the sun, all drying naturally in the air. With hardwoods, you don't want to speed it up too fast, as it can split and crack. But I think I'll get quite a bit of good wood out of these.